So now it's time to phone a friend, and I really have a great deal of admiration. If you study the Senate, you watch the Senate, see what's going on. There's a rising player on the Republican side. He's kind of quiet. He's not as flashy. He's not going to grab all these headlines. But I think he brings those Indiana values and exactly what the Senate needs, which is sober, honest thought and a look at the books for this country. Let's dial up Senator Braun, the senator from Indiana.
Hello.
Senator Braun, hey, this is Jason Chaffetz. Thanks for joining me on my Jason in the House podcast. I do appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure to be on. There's certainly a lot to talk about, Jason.
Well, I like to say there's always somebody doing something stupid somewhere, and right at the heart of that is in Congress. And so, but hey, you signed up for this. Is it as crazy and weird? And what's your impression of it? I mean, you're still fairly new on the block there.
When I decided to run, put it in context, I had started a little business back in the early 80s that was little for so long, I didn't know if it was going to ever get to where I wanted it to be. Over the last 20 years prior to running for Senate, it scaled into a national company, and 3 of my 4 kids now run it with a good young executive team. So that was kind of the American dream. My wife and I moved back to our hometown where we both went to grade school, high school together, made it through college, lived away for a couple years, and then compared kind of the corporate ladder to starting our own businesses back home. So that's the context for me. It was a community of faith, family, hard work. You couldn't tell the difference between the folks that own the businesses and the workers. You all kind of work together. That was a lucky decision for us to make back when it was very unusual. But I watched what was happening over the years and saw what happened in 2016 when, Trump cleared the field within our own party. That got me interested because it looked like the dynamic in D.C. was going to change. I was a state legislator for 3 years. I was on a school board, which is a big deal now, I think,
right.
For 10 years prior to that. And I had the kind of whimsical idea of running for Senate when in Indiana that had never been done before, unless you kind of came through the farm system of politics, as I refer to it. So I was charged up. Trump made it. I see how they went after him because he was not establishment from the outside, and still look at what was accomplished in a few years with all the headwinds involved. And here we are. Now we've had a year of government gone wild, government at a level of, I never imagined we'd be there. 18 trillion when I got here in debt, now 30. Democrats, the federal government, it's their cathedral. It's their growth business, and they're not apologetic about it. But when you look at where we were pre-COVID, when things were working at the border, no inflation, wages going up the old-fashioned way, and now we've tried to replace the productive economy with the federal government. Disappointing, but I'll fight on. I'm still excited about what we can accomplish. I think Republicans have to be a party of something. We can't be the party of no, or I'm not interested. Right. I was a problem solver in my business. I'd like to see that occur here. Unique opportunity. Independents are lined up with us almost lockstep. Normally they're in the middle. That's how bad the Biden agenda has been. I'm really concerned. What will we do with it? If we don't get the House back, Jason, we got to really do some soul searching. I think we should with margin. Senate's now in play. How do we win the presidency without Hail Mary, events each time to where it's so close? That's the part that we need to fine tune as conservatives.
Yeah, I think you're right about the messaging, and any party cannot just be, I think, the opposition party. Yeah, perhaps you'll have some success, but I think for a national party to do well, it actually has to have an agenda, and it needs to articulate it, and then you actually have a mandate. What I see happening with the Biden administration is they did not have that mandate. That what Joe Biden campaigned on, the way he said he was going to govern, is far different than what he did. And now they're trying to act as if they have some sort of national mandate to do some of these crazy Green New Deal, all government all the time programs. And they don't. When I was elected to Congress 2008, and Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and it was tough. It was difficult to be in the minority because they could roll through anything they wanted to.
Yeah, they had 60 senators, didn't they, as well, with Arlen Specter changing parties in Pennsylvania. And they are political enterprisers, Jason. They are, and we oftentimes are wallflowers when it comes to the things that we believe in, and we generally don't undo any of it. That's why this government has turned into such a monstrosity that so many people look to help them out. But it's kind of run by the seat of its pants. 23% deficits annually now, approaching close to 30%. They, on the other side of the aisle, believe in the modern monetary theory that deficits and, the cumulative debt that comes along with it make no difference. We know those chickens will come home to roost. And when they land, it'll be a hard landing. And I think we just got a lot of opportunity, but we have to have another paradigm and dynamic than what we normally do when the rains come back to us.
You're listening to Jason in the House. We'll be back with more of my conversation with Senator Braun right after this. All right, so let's go. You kind of alluded to this, but, the people that I know, that I've seen, that I've met from Indiana, just salt of the earth, nicest people in the world. Yeah, you're right. You couldn't tell if they were the CEO of the biggest company or the line worker, assembling something. You just couldn't tell. So, but your family, you met your wife back in, you said grade school, high school?
In first grade.
First grade, that's impressive. Yeah. Do you have a picture together or something from, first grade?
I don't know. We've got our annual pictures, and funny thing is, we were just in the same homeroom in high school. Yeah. Her maiden name was Berger, Burger, and we didn't actually start dating until the second half of our senior year. So I always explain that by the fact that I guess I had so many other options that I never could pay attention to her. She doesn't like that at all and flips it the other way. But we're lucky we came from families that were steeped in those community values. And she went to Indiana University. I went to Wabash College with 4 classmates, all aspiring to being a doctor someday, until I found out how many years of further education you needed. So I kind of flipped into, thought I was going to go to law school, ended up getting a business degree. It was the right thing for me. And she ended up being an entrepreneur as well. When we moved back in 78, she started her own business, home accessory and gift store, and still runs it and goes there with a full head of steam, just like she did all those years ago. So 3 of our 4 kids work in my business, and 3 of our 6 grandkids live in our hometown. So we're lucky.
Now, you grew up in Indiana, your brothers, sisters. What was it like growing up? A lot of people want to grow up. They maybe don't aspire when they're young to go be a United States senator, but a lot of people would love that job, but only very few kind of ascend to that position. What were some of the things that were going on with your family early on, and including what was your sort of first job away from mom and dad?
So we come from one of the most Catholic places in the country, and especially in Indiana. So that education, grew up in a town of 8,000 people, had 3 parishes within that town. Sometimes I, especially growing up, dismissed that and then put 2 and 2 together when we lived away with that kind of religious underpinning. And I think we probably need to get more back to the way that was and the way we are now. The community values that go along with it. My parents always kind of rooted me on, wanted me to try this and that, had a community that accommodated it. I was involved in student government when I was in high school and college, and I didn't really ever think about becoming a U.S. senator until I actually worked in a Youth for Lugar campaign back in the 70s when I was at college, but then was concerned about building a business, raising a family.